But for those of us who are in favour of the monarchy, what's next? A lot of Republican people are coming out and saying this should be the end of it, and yet it is a constitutional monarchy, and she has to get permission to go into Parliament to make the speech with the guy who knocks on the door 3 times, Black Rod, can't come in, and then eventually she's allowed to come in, because we've had evolution in this country rather than revolution, and it has produced this remarkable consensus, hasn't it? Do you agree? Yes, of course we've got problems in this country, but that's not to say we're not capable of solving them together as a multi-ethnic, pluralistic, democratic nation. Agree? 0344449. Do you disagree? 03444991000. Tweet at Talk TV. Tweet at Jonny Gould. That'll get you to me. But what about the monarchy after Elizabeth? Should we talk to the podcaster from 20 Minute Topic, a royalist, a monarchist, journalist and podcaster based in South Wales? It's Marcus Stead. A very good afternoon to you, Marcus.
Good afternoon, Johnny, from a very windy Cardiff Bay.
Is it always windy there?
About 90% of the time, yeah. You might even hear it howling behind me. I mean, what's it like where you are?
Honestly, the weather's superb, although we are amid a whole host of skyscrapers. You know what that does on the ground. But yes, it's been absolutely glorious weekend wherever I am. So, we listened to your podcast over the weekend and with Greg Lance Watkins, and succession is always a period of upheaval, isn't it? And we're not seeing that at the moment, but we are definitely seeing a practical application of it, with Prince Charles taking over the opening of Parliament, the Princess Royal, mostly connected with the equine variety, isn't she, in terms of horse riding, replacing the Queen at the Epsom Derby, Prince William even stepping in and giving out the old gongs at the OB at Windsor Castle from time to time. This is the future, sadly, isn't it?
Well, yes, Johnny. I mean, to me, this is a very poignant time in many ways, because, yes, we're having a lot of fun. There'll be a great party this evening. The Troop in the Colour was fantastic to watch. But there is a real sense that the Queen's reign is sadly coming towards an end. Hopefully it won't be any time too soon, but at some point in the next decade or so, it's sadly inevitable. And we're taking a step into the unknown in one sense, because you have to be pushing on 80 years of age now, Johnny, to have any recollection of a time when the Queen wasn't on the throne. And I believe that when that sad day comes, it'll have a far more profound effect, not only on this country, but on the Commonwealth than most people realise.
And it'll be a moment of reflection, actually, as this Platinum Jubilee has been. I mean, it's been a lovely celebration. But it
has, Johnny. I'm seeing communities getting together. There's bunting up all over my estate. In all parts of the United Kingdom, it's the same thing. And the Queen has said this should be a time for bringing people together, and it is a time for celebration. But it's also a time for reflection, because if you get rid of the monarchy, what are you going to replace it with? And we have to be very, very careful what we wish for here, because I think that there are Republican forces, particularly in this country, but also in other parts of the Commonwealth, who are biding their time. Lots of warm tributes to the Queen from people we know are very pro-Republican. Even in places like Australia, they've got a new Prime Minister there now, Anthony Albanese, who has got Republican sentiments, as have previous Australian Prime Ministers. But when the Queen leaves us, I think those voices, there'll be a period of dignified reflection and mourning. I then believe that those voices will become a lot louder, but we have to be very careful what we wish for, Johnny.
There is a silent majority, though, in this country, and though it might be not cool to say, I'm a monarchist, I'm a royalist, the fact of the matter is that she is there by consent of the vast majority of the people, even if there's a slightly greater resistance than there was 10 or 15 years ago. These things waver over time, and the Queen is much loved, even against even the biggest detractors of her institution.
She is, Johnny. I mean, 70 years without any major gaps. The problem she's had have been things that have gone on around her. You talk about the Annus Horribilis in 1992. That was caused by the Windsor Castle fire and problems involving her children. It wasn't to do with the Queen herself. She has got very, very little wrong over a very long period of time. There have been no major gaps. Now, the problem is, Johnny, that Prince Charles, when he eventually becomes king, he will have lived, well, he's over 70 years of age now. He'll be into old age himself. You cannot live in the public eye for that sheer length of time without having made some mistakes along the way in some way, shape or form. If we put a spotlight on any of our lives over that length of time, we would know what it is. Things will have gone wrong inevitably. Now, we know what Prince Charles's problems have been. It's been to do with his marriage. But you look at it, Jonny, Prince Charles has got it about 95% right. He runs, 3 charities, which are all to do with helping disadvantaged young people. There are many, many thousands of people who have had a tough start in life that have been helped by the Prince's Trust in particular. And yes, he's got some unfashionable opinions. And being Prince, he has more freedom than when he's king in terms of being able to express those views. But he's got some unfashionable opinions that he's not afraid to express. And I'm sorry the environmental lobby have got inside his head to the extent that they have. I think some of his views on that are misguided. I'm more aligned with his late father, the Duke of Edinburgh, when it comes to environmental issues.
On all sorts of issues, actually.
Indeed. But you have to give credit where it's due. Prince Charles has got a lot right. And listening to what your previous guest said a moment ago, I do think we have to accept Camilla. Camilla's big problem, really, is that she's not Diana. And there's a contrast in styles, a contrast in personalities. But everyone I know who's met Camilla and had dealings with her has said that she's very down to earth, she's very easy to talk to, and quietly and in her own somewhat more reserved way, she's somebody who has contributed a lot to this country. And let's be honest, the last, 17 years since they married, she has done a lot of good herself.
She has been quite a stabilising character in the background, despite the history by which she arrived. In 15 seconds or 20 seconds or so, what do you make of Prince William and his arrival on the scene, which is very sudden with Catherine now, very senior royal now?
Well, Prince William is somebody who has grown into the job. I recall when I was a young man watching Princess Diana's funeral, his wife, I think, is a real star, not just in this country, but around the world. She understands her life of duty. She does it with dignity and with humour, and she moulds it into her own style, the way Princess Diana did it with her own style. And yeah, I think we've got a real star on our hands. But first of all, Jonny, we have to look ahead now and prepare ourselves as a country for when the time comes when Prince Charles becomes king.
Marcus Stead, thank you very much for joining us.